Hi everyone, I'm back with another joyful vessel moment. David was the anointed king of Israel, but before he could enjoy the realization of God's promises, he had to go through a season of testing and waiting. During this time, he was forced to literally run for his life and hide out in caves. King Saul, who was bent on David's destruction, continually hunted for him. Perhaps the Lord has given you a promise through His Word. You're ready to see it unfold, but it hasn't happened yet. You have waited, but hope doesn't seem to be on the horizon. Remember that God's timing is perfect. He knows what you need and when you need it. He knows that if we're going to learn how to walk with Him in the daylight or the good times, we must also learn to trust Him in the times of darkness. At some point, each of us has waited for God's promises to come. David may have wondered when the Lord would open the door to blessing. However, he never allowed his thoughts to turn to doubts. In fact, he praised God for the victory he knew would be his one day. God delivered me from my strong enemy and from those who hated me, for they were too mighty for me. He brought me forth also into a broad or spacious place. He rescued me because he delighted in me. Psalm 18. When God delivers you from trial and trouble, you can be sure He will bring you out into a spacious place of joy and delight. One that also will glorify Him and add encouragement to your life. Have you been pushing and shoving in an effort to get where you think you should be? If so, stop and choose instead to wait on God, who will one day reward you for the time you spend waiting in darkness. When the storms of life hit, we're often tempted to run for cover. When they continue indefinitely, we struggle to find encouragement. When the rain and the wind gather strength until they turn into what seems to be a hurricane, we find ourselves saying, I can't do this any longer. The truth is, we can't, but God can. He is the only one who can help us victoriously fight through the battles of life. Nothing can provide the strength He provides, especially when we feel overwhelmed and discouraged. He stands beside us and He never retreats. Daniel didn't worry when he was thrown into the lion's den. He knew that the Lord would provide the help and protection he needed to make it through the night. You may be fighting a battle with a life-threatening disease. It's an unseen enemy from a human standpoint, but not from God's. He knows exactly what you're facing, and He knows how it affects your life. An incredible sense of peace comes from resting in the Lord and allowing Him to take care of your troubles. This doesn't mean you abandon the fight and just give up trying, but it means you shift the focus of your effort from yourself to God. This is where the true victory is gained. The Apostle Paul faced many life-threatening situations. At one point, he debated whether it was better to ask God to allow him to go home to heaven, where he would have unending peace and glory in the presence of Christ, or to continue living the earthly life God had given him. Paul chose the latter, as much as he longed to see the Lord in heaven. He loved telling others here about God's unending, unconditional love and forgiveness. The suffering you face today is directly related to the peace you will experience in the future. As this day unfolds, seek God's will and obey His word. When you entrust your life to Him completely and without reservation, He will give you the strength to meet any challenge, the courage to face any trial, and the wisdom to live in His righteousness and in His peace. The late pastor, writer, and teacher, Warren Wiersbe, said life's trials are not easy, but in God's will, each has a purpose. Often, He uses them to enlarge you. God bless.